I'm going to make a great big batch of jambalaya. And jambalaya and Cajun food can a lot of times be a lot of work. That's probably why I don't make it so often. But this recipe I think you're really going to love because we're going to make it right in the slow cooker. So I've taken out some of the steps. We don't need to make, you know, an all-day thing. You can actually throw this together, get it in your slow cooker, and then let it cook and all those flavors get in there all day while you're out doing your thing, working or running around errands, running the kids to their thing. So, all right, sip of coffee and I'm going to get to work. I'm starting out with 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast, and I'm going to get those. This is the only thing that we're going to do. This is kind of the hardest step, is I am going to brown that chicken just for a little bit to give it a little more flavor. Now, if you're in a real rush, you could actually even skip this step. So I've got a little olive oil into a big skillet, and I've got, this is 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast, as I said, but I've cut it up into about 2-inch cubes. Just want to get a little color on this chicken. Color is flavor, you know. And a lot of times when I'm using a slow cooker, if I can brown up, let's say I'm doing a pot roast or pork roast or something like that, or even chicken, if I have the time to brown it up real quick, then, you know, it's just going to give it a little more flavor. But as I said, if you don't, you can basically just toss the chicken breast with, I've got 4 tablespoons, or maybe even a little more, of Cajun seasoning. So you can just, if you don't have the time, just toss the seasoning right there with the chicken and throw it in the slow cooker as is. Yeah, heating things up. And that happens to be just store-bought Cajun seasoning, but later in the show, I'm actually going to talk a little bit about ways to spice up chicken, beef, pork, seafood, and I'm going to make 3 different quick rub recipes, including just a basic Cajun seasoning / rub. So you can make your own. You know, you don't have to buy, you know, I know now the spice aisle at the grocery store just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and there's all these fancy, wonderful spice blends, but they're a little pricey. And sometimes you feel like Cajun, but you just, you know, you don't have that you know, bottle of Cajun seasoning. No worries. You probably have the stuff to make it. So stick around. I'm going to show you how you can do that at home. All right, I'm going to get to work on cutting up some of these vegetables. I've got 4 stalks of celery. Woo! I'm going to have to get some water. I can, you know how you breathe that in? Just a little bit of that cayenne pepper, I think. Keep your water handy. I should have known better. Okay. Just getting a little bit of color on that chicken, and just want to flip it over. We don't have to completely cook it. Love jambalaya, gumbos, things like that. I was lucky enough to go to New Orleans. Well, I've been there twice, but the last time I was there by myself. I was working, and sometimes it's nice to go on a trip by yourself. It really is, because you can kind of do what you want, and I just kind of went all around the French Quarter looking for the best gumbo and jambalaya, and I had a lot of good food. And I came home and I just wanted to recreate all those great flavors, and it's not all that hard to do. Okay, so we're going to get the Holy Trinity in here, which is basically celery, onion, and pepper. So about 3 to 4 stalks of celery, 1 whole onion that I've just diced up, and got to have the pepper. And I thought we'd have a little bit of color in this, so I'm going to do yellow and green pepper. That's the Holy Trinity in New Orleans, and you'll find that in just about every recipe, every kind of Cajun or Creole recipe, is the onion, celery, and pepper. And you don't have to, you know, worry about making it perfect. We're just going to kind of throw it into our slow cooker. I love to do something like this when I'm entertaining, because first of all, it's something a little different than tacos or sloppy joes or hot beef sandwiches, something like that. And actually, one of Bob's real good friends is just a big fan of Cajun, New Orleans type food. So if you have a big pot of this going and then your rice already cooked up and maybe some cornbread, I kind of go with a theme whenever I'm doing that. And then, you know, you can just all enjoy each other. The jambalaya is already in the slow cooker and everybody just has to serve it up when they get hungry. So it just makes life real easy. So my green pepper's in there. I'll do my yellow pepper. How's my chicken doing? And you got water over there too? Water in a fan, Ann does. See that? That is all flavor. That is all goodness. So I'm going to get that off the heat and get all that chicken in the slow cooker. Oh yeah, good stuff. Okay, let me finish cutting this pepper. Just thought it would be pretty to do some color in here, so red or orange or yellow pepper, along with my bell pepper. It smells so good. In you go. And I don't make my jambalaya and my gumbos too spicy because I always serve extra hot sauce on the side. I collect hot sauces everywhere I go, especially if you know you're taking a trip to like the Caribbean or Mexico. You'll find a lot of different hot sauces that you can't get in this country. So I like to have hot sauces on the side, and then they all taste a little different, you know, especially those in the Caribbean. They're all different colors, and they're all using different recipes, and a lot of them are family recipes. You'll go to a restaurant, and they'll serve a hot sauce on the table at some of the restaurants in the Caribbean, like St. John's, St. Thomas, and then it's basically a family, you know, family-owned restaurant, and the family its own recipe for the hot sauce, and I always buy a bottle of it. They bottle it themselves, and man, so my whole refrigerator, I've got all these different hot sauces. So I like to, if I'm doing something like this, serve the different hot sauces, just put all the different bottles out, and people can have fun and experiment with them. All right, now I got to get my seasonings in here. So basically, I've got my onion, my green pepper, my yellow pepper, my celery, my chicken, that you can either toss with the Cajun seasonings, or I browned it up a little bit in some oil and sprinkled a bunch of Cajun seasonings over that. I did about 4 tablespoons. You can go more if you like it spicy, less if you don't like it quite as spicy, up to you. Also, every Cajun seasoning mix is a little bit different, so it's always good to kind of back off, and you can always add more. You know, you can taste your jambalaya after it's all done, and if it needs a little more kick, add a little more seasoning or a little more hot sauce to it. Speaking of hot sauce, a few dashes of that in here. And we're going to add some spices. I've got 2 bay leaves, half a teaspoon of oregano, and a half teaspoon of dried thyme. Now, I've got, this is the key, some nice andouille smoked sausage. And this happens to be a new line of sausage that debuted at All Festival Foods not too long ago. It's the SKS brand, and they do some different wonderful, they call them artisan smoked sausages. So this is basically the good stuff, really good stuff. And these andouille sausages are already cooked. They're just smoked sausages that are already cooked, and I'm just going to dice them up. If you can't find these, can't get a hold of these, which are, like I say, wonderful, you could also do just a kielbasa. Any kind of a smoked sausage will work great. This is my favorite part of, I think, Cajun food. It's always about the sausage. And it used to be we couldn't get andouille sausage around here. Well, now we can, thank goodness. Get that sausage in there. A couple more lengths. Just give it a rough chop. There we go. Now we need some liquid. So we're going to do 1 can of diced tomatoes, and Don't worry about draining it. We're going to throw it right in here with the juice. And this is one of the big guys. This is a 28-ounce can. In you go. Dump, dump, dump. Juice and all. Now we're going to do 3 cups of chicken stock. Again, we're just going to dump, dump, dump. You know me, I love a recipe where there's the word dump involved. Just don't want to get dumped. Ha ha. Anne laughed at my joke. Being polite, she says. And the last thing we're going to add is about a ½ cup of a dry white wine. This is totally optional, don't have to do it. But again, we're trying to put a lot of flavor because we're not doing this on the stove, we're not doing it the long way, we're taking some shortcuts to this jambalaya. So, you know, I think some wine in here is really nice. Adds a lot of flavor. You get that depth of flavor, as they say. And that's why you see a lot of the chefs these days cook with wine. But I get it, some people don't want to cook with wine, or you just may not have it on hand. Just leave it out, add some more chicken stock. So I just want to kind of stir this around, make sure everything gets covered. Now the one thing about this jambalaya, it's kind of a cross between a jambalaya and a gumbo. Jambalaya you normally think of as a rice dish. Gumbo is one of those dishes where it's normally served, it's more of a soup, and you serve it over rice. Well, this is pretty much a combination of the two. You're going to like it, bottom line. And there's 2 ways you can do it. So first of all, lid goes on, bye-bye, out the door I go to work and running around and doing everything I have to do. And you come home, I like to cook it on low for about, this isn't going to be, it doesn't need to be an 8-hour deal. It can be, if that's how long you're going to be gone. Cook it on low for, 6 hours or so, and then you're going to throw in some shrimp the last 30 minutes of cooking. But that chicken and everything's going to cook, and it's just going to be wonderful. But you could get it done on high within, 3 to 4 hours. Okay, so here we go. Now, as I said, there's 2 things that you can do with this rice. You can dump it all in right now. This happens to be several cups of cooked white rice, or you can serve it over the rice. It's totally up to you. What I like to do, I tend to keep the rice on the side because if it continues to cook a little bit, that rice can break down and get mushy. But you can just mix the rice right in there too. Again, totally up to you. So, a couple scoops of that white rice. Jambalaya involves a lot of rice, and that's really was a way that they would stretch their dollar back there, get that great flavor, and Cajun flavor. And you can see the shrimp. The shrimp, you don't want to put that shrimp in until the very last 30 minutes or so, because then it'll get tough on you and overcook. But check this out, and it smells amazing. Needs more spice, add some more Cajun seasoning or some more hot sauce. But you can really see the tomatoes. That chicken's going to break down and get nice and tender. The sausage and the shrimp. And if you want to thicken it up, if it's not getting real thick on you, you could certainly thicken it up with a little cornstarch or flour at the end. But man, does this look good. And in New Orleans, always, don't be afraid of if you get a little drippy and you want it to look pretty, just use, that's what they do in the restaurants. It's the secret they use there, is use a rag to just wipe the edge of the plate and then garnish with some scallions or some parsley on top. And there you have it. It's my Crockpot Jambalaya. Who knew jambalaya could be that easy? Recipes on our website. You can also pick it up at any festival foods. There you go. Wow. Yum.